So, welcome for everyone who is joining via video or potentially joining from somewhere else. I'm Rudun. I'm going to be playing Spirit Island based on something that was discussed in the Handle Oliver channel for Spirit Island. Specifically, someone wanted to see exactly how different people could handle the same game, potentially how many mistakes they can be made. I think I'm a pretty good player of Spirit Island, and this is Sharp Fangs 1 versus France. For those who don't know, Sharp Fangs is going to be one of the spirits in the game who excels in working with beast tokens. Spirit Island at a high level is a game where you are trying to defend the island as a spirit who survives off the island and try to prevent the invading colonists from blighting it too badly so that you die off. I don't know if there's anything else I need to say, so with that in mind, I will go ahead and get started. And I should post some links here, so... One second while I get everything set up. So first things first, basics of Spirit Island is that the basic game flow is spirits grow in power, then choose which powers they want to use for the turn. They use some of their fast actions by fully resolving the ones they've played. Invaders will act and generally do bad stuff to spread all over the island. Then spirits will use their slow powers. Fast and slow powers are one of the ways you can sort of differentiate how different powers are. I don't think this is going to be a very good example if you're just not familiar with the game, but I'll try my best to explain the choices I make along the way as much as possible. Sharp Fangs, as mentioned, works a lot with beasts and has a number of things that interact with these beast tokens. This is playing versus France 1, France being one of the adversaries in the game that can make it harder. France will in general do... Oh, this is a... Yeah, France 1. Thing where it attempts to build... after exploring to the land which has no towns or cities, add one explorer there. Basically drops explorers much more easily and readily than some other adversaries does at the low levels. France also has an extra loss condition where if there are too many towns around, then you will instantly lose. Stage 2 escalation is another thing to watch out for. Basically, at a certain point in the game, they will start doing that in order to make things worse. I think that's everything. Spirits start by having their presence on the board, indicating exactly where they can reach and do things in. I will be starting by dropping some presence here. You generally want to expand a little bit so you can reach everything you need to before the game starts. Invaders will then start doing things based on the terrain shown on a randomly drawn card. In this case, it's the mountains. The initial explorer doesn't have those extra beasts to watch out for, but in the future there will be. Sharp Fangs has a couple of things. It is unique in that you pick 2 growths in order to use, and then you will get to use both of them out of these 4 options. The first one I definitely want to use is I want to add a presence to either a jungle or a land with beasts. I could try to spread into this jungle, and that's probably going to be the right move, or I can add it to a land with beasts, which would be one of the places I already have presence. When spirits grow in power, they can do so from one of these 2 tracks, either the top track for more energy generally, the bottom track for more card plays generally. There are a few different ways to play a spirit. I'm not going to be too worried about exactly how I do so here. In general, you'll want to sort of balance things out so that you can try to play all of your powers in an appropriate way. I think if I was playing a higher difficulty, then I'd want to be very precise about this. Playing at a lower difficulty, though, I'm going to lean more towards playing the top track to see if I can gain some major powers later on. You choose minor or major when you gain powers, and that'll basically determine the energy costs. Also, hi Dolphin. So, yep. The main reason later, more difficult spirits will be for a track is that they have elements on their tracks, and elements will determine which of these innate powers you can use. Having some good ones will make things easier or harder than having some bad ones. Basically, the more you can fit these, the more you can do without just gaining powers outright. Speaking of which, I did make one minor thing that I probably want to deal with already, is that Sharp Fangs, my growth is already relatively set in that I'm going to do this, but choosing the order can matter first. In this case, I would want to gain a power first to determine whether or not I have some choices that might impact growth later. Obviously, I'm gaining a minor. Major powers just have a huge cost. Minor will cost 0 or 1. Major will cost a whole lot more and will require you to forget a power, permanently lose it from somewhere. This early on, for Sharp Fangs specifically, minor is a better fit. The things I am primarily looking for are either an effect that synergizes well, which would be particularly beast tokens, or an effect which fits the elements, which I am looking for are primarily grass and animal. I don't think any of these are particularly good fits in terms of the latter, but Call to Tend is very good from the former. I am also picking one which has an energy cost on it, which means I am likely to want to go the top track this turn. Having a good fit this early on is actually a pretty big boon for exactly how Sharp Fangs works. So, picking that, going with animal, and yes, I will go here. It's not necessarily obvious, but one of the things Sharp Fangs wants is presence in jungles just so you can use this power. And turn 1, I don't think I need the Call to Tend. Too near the jungle is good as a slow option there. And Teeth Gleam from the Darkness will only add things, but it won't deal with problems. This early on, I probably want to try to deal with problems. Which means using Prey on the Builders for now in order to do that, and then Teeth Gleam will be a good option for second. The other option I have is, of course, trying to use the fact that I got a very good draw turn 1 in order to try to remove these outright through minor power use, which is also a very good effect. So, I think Too Near the Jungle is going to happen unless I am using Terrifying Chase and Prey just so I have very good elements later on. This early on, though... yeah, just the two animals will allow me to move all of the things in a way that is hopefully good, so I will go ahead and use these two. I might not be able to deal with the other explorers that pop up later on, but I should be able to watch for those later. This is more of a slow turn than going for the very aggressive opening plays with Too Near the Jungle and Teeth Gleam from the Darkness. No, I probably want to use those. Okay. And yes, Dahan movement is good for either trying to remove Blight, which will be very useful, but I don't have any other Dahan movement at this time outside of Terrifying Chase, which I'm not using quite yet. So I'm just going to go with the more standard opening here. The other thing of note that I could do is I can use Fangs' special rule in order to turn some of my presence into beasts. This would definitely help me get some early offense early on, but the main downside to that is I would lose the presence I have. I probably still want to do so because I have the presence necessary for these parts, but the main downside is my innate ability, which lets me move and do damage with these beasts, might not have as much reach as I would like if I do so. And I don't think that's strictly necessary here, especially when I'm able to do a few things in order to not defend next turn, but try to mitigate that next turn with... Okay, let's just go with this and not overthink it. Alright, fast powers first. As mentioned, after you play things, you can use fast powers. Invaders will act, and then you can use slow powers. The only fast power I have is this ranging hunt, which will allow me to try to do a little bit of damage here. So, move here, get rid of this token, it'll do 1 damage, and push it somewhere else. Probably want them here just so they're able to stack. Everything else is reasonably set. Invaders will build in the mountains. Invaders will only build where there are pieces, and they'll build cities or towns depending on how bad it is. Usually just try to keep them from getting too bad. Alright, they explore. France's thing means there's a second explorer here, and I will have to do my best to deal with those. First things first, Teeth Gleam from the Darkness lets me add Beast Token or Fear. Fear is one way you can potentially win the game or make it easier. Get enough fear by being a spooky spirit and you'll do so. And 2 Near the Jungle will allow me to destroy 1 explorer within range 1 from a jungle where I have a presence. I have 2 main options here. I can try to clear this somewhat, or I can try to completely clear this. I will lean towards completely clearing this next turn using my innate ability, and hopefully mitigating this one using Terrifying Chase. Which means first I will use 2 Near the Jungle in order to destroy 1 explorer here, and Teeth Gleam from Darkness will let me add 1 Beast Token, which I will do here, because as mentioned I'll want those fast next turn in order to do some damage. Time passes, which means it is the next thing. And then it is the next growth phase. This repeats until you either destroy enough pieces, which is going to be somewhat based on the terror level, or you honestly lose because too much blight is on the island and the spirit can no longer survive. Let's see, I have 1 energy, and if I gain another I'll have enough to work with. So I'd rather gain the energy first, get a power card, see exactly what I can do. Again, things I'm primarily looking for are something that is synergistic or something that will give me the right elements. Nothing is particularly synergistic. Shadows of the Burning Forest is a good secondary one, but of note is that Drift Down into Slumber is also a defend card, and that means that it will be able to help protect lands. In particular, it's notable here because Drift Down into Slumber means that I would be able to protect this land completely next turn, rather than doing something with it this turn. That is probably a reasonable option. Terrifying Chase would also potentially help to address it, and Prey on the Builders would basically stop one thing from building completely, which is useful, but not great with what I've got to mitigate. Basically, I could do a whole lot of things to resolve a number of issues next turn. I am unlikely to be able to resolve this turn, so I'm probably just going to have to let it blight. The only exception is if I manage to place a presence here, then get a second beast in range in order to change that. I don't think it's worth the effort. So, whoops. Realistically, I will get Shadows of the Burning Forest and see if that will help mitigate in the future, and also just because it is a cheap card, and if I go for the expensive ones, there's going to be a lot I'm just not going to manage. Delusions of Danger normally is a good way to stop explorers, but it's not particularly good against France. And both of these are reasonable defenses. Yep, I'll take Shadows of the Burning Forest. Neither of them are great fits, but this will also let me do a little bit of mitigation in the future and just ramp up fear, which is not a bad thing to have. I will place the presence there. There are a few places I could place this. I could drop it here and just turn into another beast, so eventually it'll be fine. The problem with that is I don't have reach, and I would need to use a fair combination of things in order to get it to reach. As a result, I think I would rather just place it over here and try to think about what else I can do. No, on the coast. On the coast is definitely going to be important, especially because if I do destroy this during fast, then I'm going to be clearing out this town, and invaders can only spread from where there are towns or cities, which means that a fair chunk of this is going to be safe. So I do want to use Call to Tend here just so I am able to move some Dahan for the correct things later on, and I will play this Terrifying Chase in order to help mitigate this after the fact. And will do. I could transform this into a beast, but I don't think that's quite urgent right now. So here is a ranging hunt. As mentioned, the 2 beast tokens there will be enough to destroy this. And I will move 1 beast token here. Realistically, I probably should have placed it here, but I don't want to undo that at the moment. The big benefit to placing it here is that it does mean that I would have been able to move a presence and leave a presence there for any other jungle-based powers. But realistically, I think the reach from the jungle is still important enough that I keep it there. Events. Events will happen after the first turn, and it'll cause the game to throw things into odd situations. We're on Healthy Island, so tight-knit communities mean for this turn the buildings will have 1 more health. Grandeur and Weary means each beast destroys 1 explorer, which helped here and would have been more helpful there if I had known it was coming. And Coming of Age is add 1 Dahan to a land with Dahan. I would rather have it here rather than cluster them all here where it's not strictly necessary. Here to Ravage the Mountains. As mentioned, this mountain is getting ravaged, not much I can do about that. Build in the jungles, this one's clear, so just the 1 here. And then explore into sands. As mentioned, they can only explore from buildings, so I'll just need to see about clearing this, probably with means that use beasts. Normally Fangs is in an awkward position because Fangs has trouble trying to remove Blight. Oh, that was a mistake. Terrifying Chase needs beast tokens to do as much as it can do. I'll still be able to mitigate enough, but I won't be able to use Call to Tend quite as I'd like it if I am not careful. Oh well. So I will still use Terrifying Chase here. There are definitely things that need to get done. Specifically, I don't want to move things here, so this will just be a mess in this land. Making them a mess in some other land is generally better than the alternatives. I don't have any immediate way of dealing with things here for the next turn, and I'm more likely to try to clear this place next turn. So I would rather just push the Dahan here and push this Explorer here and know that this land is more or less dealt with, probably safe if an event doesn't do anything weird. Call to Tend will then be used on this land just to try to get Dahan here, so I'll be able to use Call to Tend for it in the future. Time passes, on to the next growth. So I don't need to reclaim yet. I still have enough powers, and I think I can just continue going along the top track before I reclaim and go for a major power, which will be a significant boost in 1 particular ability. So first things first, gain a power. Still minors for now. I don't have enough energy that I can just go wild. Once again, potentially ways to get there. Nature's Resilience is interesting, but particularly awkward for Sharp Fangs because it requires a Sacred Site or 2 presence in the same land. South the Strength of Multitudes is much better. It's range 0, but that's something that I can definitely work around. Fire in the Sky is also an interesting area in that it will potentially give fear on top of effectively being defended through Strife, which is what that weird symbol is. But I think with energy costs in mind, I take Sap the Strength of Multitudes here. There's no particular need to defend. I will go ahead and add 1 more present. I will definitely be changing this into a beast so I have more to work with this time around. And I will go ahead and add 1 more. I want something that will help with this area, and that means I'm probably going to go for 1 of these 2. Unfortunately, I have no way of particularly clearing this, so I'm probably going to see about moving some beasts in for next turn to use Sap the Strength of Multitudes here. I have otherwise just got a little bit of damage that I can try to use to clear this if need be, or to try to move things in here to lay down some preliminary damage, which is what I'm going to aim to do here. Probably should have put the presence here so I could have left it there, but it should be fine. Okay. And as mentioned, this is the turn where I just go for these two, finish playing cards, and I have a number of things I can do. Oh shoot, I forgot I didn't have enough beasts for that. Oh well, don't think I needed it urgently. So first things first, as mentioned, my first goal is to move a beast here so I can help deal with that next turn. Probably should have moved the other, but whatever. This does enable Prion the Builders, which means that I am able to use this in the land to stop the build, and that'll stop this from getting too much worse. I will start pulling in from here because the inside of the island is mostly fine. Event. I don't have any sacred sites, so that's not really going to do anything. Basically, sacred sites under threat means each of the sacred sites on the board would do something. I would either have to pay energy to damage or destroy them, or potentially just have them push but remove some of the blight, which would keep me from losing the game. In this case, though, I had no sacred sites, so it doesn't matter. In addition, you'll notice that beast tokens will work and generate a whole bunch of fear, and then if I had 4 Dahan among all my lands, I would be getting a power, but I don't. Yep. I don't need to pay anything as mentioned. Beast will prowl. Let's see. This one will go here. And then 1 fear for the one that was here, 2 fear for this, and fear for this. I will get a fear card from that, which means stuff will happen. I may push 1 Dahan from a land with invaders or gather 1 to a land with invaders. I know this is going to be safe, so I would rather just do some more preemptive moving for next time. And then move 1 town or explore from land with beasts. This is the best place to do so, just because getting rid of this prevents a lot of other spread. Ravage in the jungle, it's fine. Build in the sands, it's fine because they're not blocked. They're exploring into sands again. And then we also have the adversary escalation here. Escalation is after exploring, pick a land of the shown terrain, add 1 blight if it has a town or city, and add 1 town if it does not. If I put a town here, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would still be able to block it with the strength of multitude, so that is probably what I would like to do. I don't want to put it in here and just make the spread much worse. Now, Shades of the Burning Forest. Unfortunately, I lost all the places to use this, so even if I use it, it's basically not going to have a valid target. But I can still get a little bit of fear for the fear part rather than the push part. Now, as mentioned, I have 3 and 2 energy income, which means I can take the gamble on a major power at this time. Major powers are a gamble. I have to forget something in order to get them, but in general, they can be worth it as long as you can afford it. They range in cost from 2 to 9. It is a very wide range, and you can do a whole lot with them. And I don't have any particularly strong attachment to any of these. Cleansing of Floods will let me do a whole bunch of damage and clean up some blight, which is nice. Sea Monsters just has the advantage of being beast synergy and potentially doing a lot of damage. But the main downside to using that is that it's not going to be able to reach outside the sea. It's great for taking out this one land in particular, not so good for any others. And with that in mind, Sea Monsters is almost certainly a better generic choice for Sharp Fangs, but I'll probably go with Cleansing Floods. Note that the Land Thrashes and Furious Pain is another potentially good one to get if behind. The Jungle Hungers is also just a generally good one if your problem is Explorers instead, but France at this particular level is reasonably well-rounded, so it's not a huge difference. So, yes. I'll go ahead with this Cleansing Floods. I have to forget a power to do so. In general, you can forget from anywhere, which includes the spirit's discard as well as the ones they have. It's better to forget from the discard so you're not losing anything in terms of plays. I will lose the Shadows of the Burning Forest because that was the more elementally awkward one for me. I will still place a presence somewhere where I think it will help. Getting a second animal tag would have been nice earlier, but it's not a huge deal now. But let's just go through the top route this time to see if I can just stick with swinging majors when I have the feeling. I will put this here. Let's keep it out the jungle and then turn it. One problem with cleansing floods that I have to be careful about is that I will need to make sure I have a presence in the jungle, or in the wetlands after the fact. Finish playing both of these, and then time to improvise a little bit. As mentioned, I will be able to defend this with Sap the Strength of Multitude, so defended. Ranging Hunt, it's not going to be able to do any offense, but it will allow me to at least just get a beast in here to help manage that. If I choose this beast, I will get my piece. I do have to be careful after the fact, but yes, that's fine. Invaders act. Farmers seek the Dahan for aid. We can either spurn the invaders, which means damage to the Dahan in the land, and then we won't add a blight and buildings will have pieces, but honestly, that's this one Dahan that's probably okay. Or teach the invaders, which means that we would get a town and the next Ravage would become a build. I defended this and it is otherwise appropriate, so I don't particularly want to. I will spurn the invaders this time. In addition, new diseases mean where you get disease tokens in a land where there are Dahan and invaders and do 2 damage to Dahan here. That would probably only be here if I spurned them, but that should still be fine. Yep. Oh, jeez. I guess I misspoke when I thought that there would be no blight. That's a problem. That is actually a problem that I would back up for, because if I let that happen, I would lose my targeting for that, and that is even worse. So yes, teach the invaders in this case. This is going to build and become worse, so I'll still keep things penned up over here. Then mentioned disease. At this stage, this land is not going to be an issue, so I'll just drop it here so I can try to flood it properly next time. Build in the sands, they build in the sands again, and then explore into jungles. That one is still safe, this one is going to be a bit of a mess. And I can either add a blight here or add a town there. I don't have any immediate reach. I would rather add the blight and deal with the consequences. The main downside to Sharp Fangs doing this kind of thing is that you do lose a lot of presence for it, but I should hopefully be able to manage them if I stop trying to make beasts. Now the slow power. As mentioned, I could aim for this and try to take it out next turn and then clear this up with some other effect, or I can just go directly for this, clean this up. I don't want this to become more of a mess though. So, Cleansing Flood's here. Generally speaking, it's better to go for the buildings because they are harder to dislodge. I will now have enough fear, so I will win if I get rid of all towns and cities. There are still a few to watch out for. Growth. Now I have to grow in power, and as mentioned, I just have no more plays, so I will want to do this in order to reclaim everything I have. I also get a power from this. Cleansing Floods on its own is already costly enough, so I'm going with the Minor. Gift of Power is neat. Promise of Protection is good for Dahan and can synergize but is not strong. Rolling Panthers is interesting in that it will allow me to add beasts and destroy things. That's a great effect. Teeming Rivers is also another nice one in that it lets me add beasts or remove Blight. Also nice effects, but the Sacred Site targeting makes that rather awkward. So I'll go for Prowling Panthers here. Alright, now note that I'm not really going to be able to stop this build directly. I will need to try to shuffle some things in. Also worth noting is that right now I do have the right elements to go for a Frenzied Assault for some extra damage, and that's likely where I'm going to be going. First things first, I will also add another presence. I can either go for more energy, but honestly at this stage getting more card plays on the next turn seems like they'll be worthwhile. Okay, so I will go ahead and do this here. That should be enough to help prevent some bad stuff. I'm not going to turn anything into a beast because I don't have the... Well, I could turn this one into a beast, but I want to keep it around for Cleansing Floods rather than needing to shift things all the time. My big thing right now is I want to use Prey on the Builders, and I want to try to access the last level Frenzied Assault by playing another animal. Another animal is fire is fine, and Prowling Panthers will also do that. This means that these are all going to do some damage, not quite enough unfortunately for the next threshold, so scratch the Prowling Panthers. I can save that for another turn, and I'd rather get something that'll allow me to deal with this jungle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could also use this in order to prevent another blight. Realistically, both are valid options. Honestly, as long as this town is gone, I can mitigate a lot of the troubles I have in this area, so I would lean more towards making sure that I can clear that, let that blight, and clean up a different blight after the fact, which means call to tent. Let's go with that. Prey on the Builders is still useful for this space in terms of just stopping it from building and getting worse. I have no strong need to gather things right now. I could use it for some damage, but that's not where the damage needs to go. So this will not be built. Ranging Hunt definitely wants to go here. As mentioned, my big goal here is destroy this town to prevent it from being a source of more explorers, and then I will shift things over here so I can try to dislodge in the future turn. I will still leave one in case I need it though. A greater surge inland. Towns are moving 1 or 2 lands inland. That's kind of annoying. I don't think I have a lot of options. I would rather not do it from here, but here's the better option. I'm going to have to do an Odd Frenzied Assault next turn instead, and probably do some more improvising in this general vicinity as a result. Yep. It's not great, but I'd rather not move too far. Then, what's it called? Grim Toll here. 2 damage to things that are already here, and 2 more to here. I will be using my ability in some related area, but I can't guarantee it's this one right now. It's probably still worth taking that risk to dislodge this, though. I can dislodge towns, okay. And we have 1 fear. We have defend 2 all lands, and we gain 1 per sacred site, which I have none. That was going to happen. Skip the build jungles, explore into mountains. They move up here and thankfully do not have the reach here. I can either then deal with a town here, or I can try to add another blight here. Town here. Town here is not great, but the beast token means I probably will be able to cope, so I'll do it here. Slow powers. Call to tend. First things first, I can clean up a... what's it called? Blight from the land with Dahan, and I honestly would rather clean this up, which will give me the flexibility I need to do a few other things. Frenzied Assault, as mentioned here, just because that'll let me finish off this city and get another. It'll remove a token, but it's worth it to help clear. As a reminder, right now my victory condition is if I can clear these 3 towns, I will be good. They will build here again though, so I'll have to be careful about how I do so. I still don't have enough energy. If I wanted more just to go for cleansing floods on the slow turn, I can use that. But realistically, can I close out with this? This jungle is fine without any attention, so I'm turning my attention here. That means a fast power here to clear the town just so I can try to mitigate some of this. I don't unfortunately have any other fast powers that will deal with this. And I can't gain a major deal with it, so I'll continue just digging for cards at the moment. And rain is another way to remove bad stuff. And Enticing Splendor is a good way of gathering pieces and removing them, but unfortunately it's not ideal against France, who makes two things at a time. Devouring Ants has the downside of just being a slow power, or with Sacred Site requirement that's not great. Same for Renewing Rain. It's not ideal, but Enticing Splendor is probably still the best bet, especially if I can use it for Dahan purposes. I will still add a presence, but this does mean I have a little bit more flexibility now that I am at 3. I'll put it here. I can turn it into Beast to try to squeeze out a little bit more damage, which might be worthwhile. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to be reactive about this. And I think with the ranges I have and the powers I have, Too Near the Force will destroy something, but not what I want. Enticing Splendor will not get things to where I need them to go this turn. So I'm probably looking at Prowling Panthers just so I have enough of the correct symbols to match this. Unfortunately, I don't have another fire, so I can't just make a super turn out of it, but it is what it is. And at this stage, I want one more grass, so I will go ahead and just drop Gleam Near the Darkness as a good generic one. And I think I throw down Terrifying Chase just so I can see if I can find a reactive use for it, just due to the fact that I have a lot of beasts to work with. I might be able to push these into a land that's better suited for Cleansing Flood after I rebuild. The only power I have is still Ranging Hunt. I am still going to use this as mentioned. Grab a beast in. Probably should turn that into token. Oh well. 2 damage here. And I am not going to push because there's... Well, I can push a beast out. There's no strong need for me to try to push out the presence. Things move. They explore with towns instead of explorers, which is going to be particularly nasty. And there's some beasts and a lot of defense. Here, card that I earned. Remove 1 explorer or town from the land with beast, disease, or at least 2 Dahan. As mentioned, right now the big victory condition I'm trying to push is removing all of the towns, and removing it from here will best help handle that. Ravaging Jungles, 1, it's defended, no problem. Build, it's going to build. I'll be able to deal with that at slow though. Explore into wetlands. And unfortunately, that means that this land and this land are both going to have a town. Oh, that one has the town. That's fine. I'll be able to clear it out as best as I can. Realistically, opposite probably could have done something in order to add more, but it is what it is. And yes, I'll be able to push a presence in here for next turn, so I'd rather lose the presence here and just deal with the fact that there's blight. I still have enough Unhealthy Island due to the fact that I've been cleaning it up. Slow powers. Let's see. Teeth Gleam from the Darkness will be good in adding beasts for a big impact next turn, which I will be able to use here. Prowling Panthers will also do the same, or if it already has it, lets me destroy some of this mess. And Terrifying Chase will just get them out of the way. Realistically, I want them out of the way and in here unless I'm dealing with them on fast. I do also have a Frenzied Assault though, but the terrain targeting restrictions make this rather difficult to use, so first things first. Frenzied Assault is definitely going here. With that, and I'll have to deal with it later. Prowling Panthers will go here, just as the space. I think I want to just destroy this, and I can worry about gathering and pushing next time. and Terrifying Chase will still be enough to get this into the place I want it to go. Oh. Not optional, huh? Shift this into over here. So right now all I need to do in order to win is either clear up this town as fast as I can, or potentially, what's it called? Get enough fear so that I hit terror level 3, which is honestly only one more fear. Not that hard. Yep, that means Teeth that Gleam from the Darkness will be able to go here and just... oh, what's it called? No Blight. Well, in that case, I'll just add one here. I think that's still enough fear. Yep, still enough fear. Everything's fine. Alright, so that is my run of Spirit Island. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you're watching after the fact, hope you got to learn something. But, yep, it's a fun game. I enjoy it, but it's definitely a lot to process. If there's any interest, I can do a more high-level tutorial in the future, but that's it. Thanks a lot for watching, take care, and have a good night, everyone.